Hi, I'm Larry McAtee, Ward 3 City Councilman. What a delight it is today to have two of our finest patrol officers here from our police department. Major Jeff Becker, head of commander of the Hefner Division, right, Jeff?
Yes, sir.
And Master Sergeant Bob Skalla, the community relations officer. And what's the real official title of your position, Bob?
Yes, thank you, Larry. Police Community Relations Officer.
Police Community Relations Officer. And we're here to talk about a very exciting program and some very positive results that are being garnered in the area of law enforcement. But before we do, how about giving our viewers just a brief snapshot, Jeff, of why are you involved in law enforcement and your background?
Well, it's the only career that I ever wanted to get into, only job that I wanted. And I've been on the department over 26 years, and I've loved every minute of it, no regrets. And I got into it because I wanted to help people, as cliched as that sounds, and I wanted to stand up for the little guy who can be victimized by crime.
Hey, very good. Thank you. Bob, how about yourself?
Yes, I became a police officer to make a difference, to give back to the community, and much like the major, to stand up for that little guy, because I was that little guy in school. I got picked on all the time when I was younger because of my freckles. And it's an opportunity for me to give back to the community. I believe in the rule of law and our way of life.
Boy, hey, great. And you know, I think a lot of our citizens don't realize that's probably the motivation at heart for a lot of, or not all of our officers, almost all of our officers, isn't it?
I think it can be. If you want to make a difference, it's a great job.
Great job. Now, talk about making a difference. You guys are making a difference in a very challenged area. Jeff, give our viewers a little bit of an overview of what's going on in that challenged area. Define it for us and tell us what's going on.
Our police department had an opportunity to get some funds that were appropriated by the state, and it's called the Safe Oklahoma Grant. It was directed through the Attorney General, and we identified a particular area in Oklahoma City that had some violent crime challenges. The area is Meridian to Council and Melrose to Northwest 27th Street. We looked at a 5-year period and found that they had a high amount of violent crime. So we selected that area to work on. We worked for months on creating a program that was not just involving additional police officers, but code enforcement and community involvement.
Now, why code enforcement?
We have found that how the community feels about their neighborhoods impacts how much they report crime, and what they allow to have happen around them. And so the funding is paying for a part-time code enforcement specialist that is strictly dedicated to this 4.4 square mile area. And the person filling that role has done a great job working hundreds and hundreds of violations like dilapidated houses, junk cars, high weeds, graffiti, things like that.
Now, what about the construction in that area? Is there a particular kind of housing out there that is a challenge to us also?
I think that with any part of town that has some older housing, at some point, if somebody doesn't stay diligent about maintaining it, if they do that deferred maintenance and put it off, it can get dilapidated. You know, with the weather in Oklahoma and other issues, that certainly that's a factor.
And then we have another challenge out there. There's a heavy population of multifamily units out there, are there not?
There are. In that 4.4 square mile, we found that there were 39 occupied apartment complexes. And so we went back and did some crime analysis and found that about 50% of the violent crimes were occurring on apartment complex properties, and the other 50% were in the neighborhoods and other business areas.
Now, Bob, from the law enforcement standpoint, what are the officers? How many officers are involved, and what are they doing in that area right now?
Yes, there are currently 6 officers that work random shifts throughout the week. Major Becker has strategically identified the days and times where most of the violent crime is occurring. So we are targeting those hot spots and looking at it on a monthly basis. And so those officers that are working the program do so on a volunteer basis. They want to work the program, they believe in the program, and they are doing proactive law enforcement. Not so much taking the 911 call, although they are monitoring the radio, they are proactively going after those with some of the most violent warrants and intercepting drug transactions, seizing guns out of apartments. So this is proactive law enforcement.
And this is all possible with the money that's paying for these extra officers being able to be assigned to that area. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. This grant is a godsend to the community down there in the Northwest 10th area, especially to the neighborhood associations that have been impacted so much by the violent crime in this area.
How much is the grant? Do you have a total amount of money on
The
it?
first year we got about $350,000, and we're working on completing the funding for the second year, which will be just a little bit less than that.
So there's a possibility then that this is going to be extended for another year.
Yes, second
Boy,
year.
that's great.
Right.
I guess we need to give a commercial and say the Attorney General's name, Scott Pruitt, and thank him publicly. Thank you, Scott, for doing this for us.
He has been great. He's come out and done a ride-along with Sergeant Skalla. He's come up to Hefner Briefing Station. He's very interested in how we're implementing using the funds. And we want to be very wise stewards of the taxpayers' money and be effective with what we're doing.
Want to get some return for our investment.
Absolutely.
What kind of return are we getting? Bob, give us some ideas of some of the things that have happened already in this endeavor.
Absolutely. I can tell you, as a direct result of this grant, the Greenville Neighborhood Association has stood back up. We had a meeting about 3 weeks ago where we had roughly 60 individuals. We are getting ready to stand up a neighborhood watch patrol in this area, and there are a lot of motivated residents that are eager to take back their streets. I'm also working very closely with the apartment managers in the area, and we are providing notification processes to them when we make an arrest on their property of their tenants, so they can look at the arrest charges and determine if it's a violation of their crime-free addendum or their lease agreement.
Have any of the apartment complexes had people evicted as a result of this yet, or is that too early to tell?
Yes, several have. We're not keeping up with the numbers, but we had our community meeting May the 19th, and prior to that, I went to each of the 39 complexes, and to my surprise, many of them have new managers. That's part of the challenge in this area, is the large turnover rate of the managers. We have some great managers down there, and some that really haven't been trained up and doing those evictions like they really need to.
Now, you mentioned proactive. That tells me maybe that without a crime being enforced, the officers are actually talking to some people and maybe even having to arrest some people who have past records. Is that a true statement?
That's very much a true statement. A lot of voluntary contacts are taking place in the apartment complexes. A lot of officers, they go in 2 to 3, 4 units at a time. They get out, they walk the complex. We do voluntary contacts. We may get the information of some subjects. We check them for warrants. One person had a gun in his waistband and took off running, which one of our officers chased him down, and he had warrants out for his arrest. So there's a lot of proactive things that are happening that are preventing future crimes. That's the beauty of the program.
What kind of statistics, Jeff, are you all compiling of the activity that's going on?
A number of things. Not only are we tracking violent crime, and by that we mean homicides, rapes, robberies, aggravated assaults, but we're tracking the code enforcement results, and we're tracking what the officers go out and do each day. And since we started on November 4th, 2013, as of today, we've arrested 110 felony crimes, and we've made more than 200 misdemeanor arrests. So that's 300 arrests just from this program. And these extra officers are over and above what the normal on-duty officers are doing in that area. We've made about 1,500 foot patrols, and like Bob mentioned, that's an officer stopping the police car, getting out, walking through an apartment complex, or stopping and talking to people. We're not going to learn what's going on just driving the speed limit through an area and not stopping. So about 1,500 times so far we've done that. We have done over 1,000 field interviews, again, stopping and talking to people. Sometimes that's in response to suspicious activity, sometimes it's just being proactive, and that's how we're going to learn what's going on in these areas. And Bob has been very diligent in reinforcing the importance of having citizens report suspicious and criminal activity to 911. And then we're using that information to try and impact these violent crimes, because if we were just to go out with the vague notion of stopping a robbery, well, how do you do that? Other than our presence, which helps. What we've done is kind of drilled down and looked at the contributing factors that result in the two most frequent violent crimes in this area are robberies and aggravated assaults. And when we look at what contributes to those two crimes, there's some common denominators: drugs, drug sales, the money that goes along with that, and illegal guns. And since we've started, just the officers working this program have seized 7 illegal guns used in the commission of a felony, one of which was stolen. We've seized PCP, marijuana, methamphetamines, and cocaine. They've seized money that drug dealers had. And so it's kind of a cycle that we're trying to break. The drug activity, and it's not just in this area, but the people that are the buyers of the drugs then in turn oftentimes commit property crimes to fund the drug purchases. So we're really trying to impact those cycles that's going to cut down on all crime, to include violent crime.
Very good. Time for another crash commercial. If there are 3 numbers that all our citizens ought to know if they see a suspicious activity going on as they go around town or in their neighborhood, what's that magic number and what should they do with it, Bob?
911. In fact, we have an outreach program with this badge here that we have really passed out to the community, the apartments and the residential areas. It's a magnetic badge they can put on their refrigerator. We passed that out, and we also have the non-emergency and some drug tip line numbers there as well. We also have our community resource guide here, and we're emphasizing to our citizens to sign up for Citizens Alert through okc.gov. We are proactively soliciting the help of our community. In fact, the reason why this program is so successful is there are key citizens in the community that are standing up, that are organizing and making a difference. We have partnered up, and we are targeting the apathy that once was in this area. People are starting to believe in their police department again. They're calling us more, and they're giving us that vital information so we can go after the ones that are committing those violent crimes.
You gave that same speech at that community meeting that Major Becker was talking about, and I think one of the attendees stood up and said, now it's time to pass the collection plate, because you had them all fired up like it was a revival going on.
Absolutely. We have to put a lot of energy in there. These problems are very systemic and deep-rooted. And basically, we're looking for sparks in the community, people that are willing to stand up and say, hey, I will make a difference. This morning I met with the Greenvale neighborhood patrol coordinator. They are standing up a neighborhood watch patrol for the first time in their neighborhood in many, many years. This will make a huge difference.
Boy, and as I hear you saying it throughout this whole thing, what I'm catching from both of you is you're giving the neighbors in this area real hope that things can change, and there's positive results behind it that you were sharing in those statistics. And I want to personally thank you, Bob, and you, Jeff, for your commitment and what you're doing out there. And neighbors, I hope you caught their enthusiasm and that comment that Bob made just a minute ago of sparks. It only takes a spark to get a fire going. And if we can get everybody in Oklahoma City, the good people, to be sparks, we can drive these criminals to another area. Thank you for what you do. God bless you as you continue as ministers of His. And I hope you've got their enthusiasm. Let's make a difference. Thank you for watching.